Greetings, fellow book lovers, and welcome back to Colin's Corner. Today, guys, we're going to be doing something that I do not do. I don't think I've ever done one on the channel. I just kind of mentioned some books that I pick up. We're going to do a book haul, though. But before we get into the video, we of course have to go over the answers from the last video's Comedy with Colin segment, where I asked you guys to joke, why did the golfer bring 2 pairs of pants? The answer? Casey got a hole in one. Alright, with that out of the way, guys, let's get on with this book haul. Now, this is just going to be a whole bunch of books that I've acquired over the last, I don't even know, 5 or 6 months. Might not be all the books that I've acquired over the last 5 or 6 months, but they're just some ones that I want to showcase to you guys. And I am not going to hold the suspense from you guys. I'm going to just start off with some of the best stuff right off the rip. So this, I backed Mike Molman on his Kickstarter for the Desperate Dispatches book. And I got it a while back. Of course, we get the fantastic map of Britannia. I'm going to try to hold it up for you guys here. Super, super cool. Here's for you, ASMR fans. And look at this packaging. It's wax seal, baby. You kidding me? Mike, stop it. You've outdone yourself. We're going to break this open right now. It's actually wax sealed. Look, the wax is breaking apart. This is crazy. Alright. Maybe I fast forward a little bit of this. I don't know. Do you guys like this stuff? Couple little cards. Mike Molman author card. I don't know if that's going to focus. Yeah! Hey, Mike. Look at this. I ruined the packaging. Someone's going to yell at me. What a beautiful book. Come on now. Sweet. And oh, it's signed by Mike. Oop, don't focus on me. And Mike told me specifically to look at the acknowledgments. Finally. There are too many booktuber and book reviewers to thank, but I'm stupid enough to take a stab at it anyway. If your name is not here, and you were clearly helpful, blame it on the forgetfulness of old age. You should check out their channels in the random order they show up in my YouTube subscriptions. Boom! It's my first time being in a book. Colin's Corner is the first one. Mike, thank you. Amazing. Can't wait to read this. So there's book number 1. Book number 2 is actually a trilogy that my mom surprised me with for Christmas. I did not ask for it. It was not on my wish list. It was actually on my out of reach list and my dream list. It's my first Folio Society. And it's the Farseer trilogy. Unbelievable. At risk of spoiling things, I'm not going to show you guys a lot of the artwork, but I will show you just a sample from Assassin's Apprentice. That isn't spoilery. Just so you can get a peek at the artwork. Alright, book 1. Let's find the first So here we get a map of the 6 duchies. And here's some artwork. It's incredible. I flipped through all of these books. This isn't very spoilery. I can show you guys this. Here's the full. Just amazing. These cloth hardcovers. There's the Farseer Buck. There's a wolf on Royal Assassin. Boom. And a dragon on Assassin's Quest. So this is amazing. This was the biggest surprise, for sure, of Christmas this past year. I've been waiting to show you guys. I was going to try to make a reel, but that is kind of out of my wheelhouse. I need my wife's help for that. So those were the ones I was the most excited to show you guys, because they were sweet. Here's some other, I'm going to go over some self-pub books that I've gotten. The Prophet of Edan, which I think many of you guys know I own. And I'm almost smack dab in the middle of right now, by Philip Chase. And the 3rd book in the Edan trilogy, Return to Edan. I love these matte covers. Fantastic quality. Printed on vellum, it says. So, fantastic quality, and really excited to continue these. And along the same design of that matte cover is Von Roycroft's 2nd book, Bold Ascension. Really cool covers that I'm assuming will tie into the story once I read it. Vaughn kindly sent me this one, so Vaughn, thank you very, very much. Next up, we're just going to go over a random pile of books that I've been buying randomly. First is Prey by Michael Crichton. I have never read any Michael Crichton. If you guys have read Prey, or if you have read any Michael Crichton and you think I will be a fan, let me know, because I'm excited to give him a try. I know Mike over at Mike's Book Reviews is a massive Michael Crichton fan. Next up, I found at Goodwill Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. It says Volume 1. I don't really know much about this series, to be honest. So this has Interview with the Vampire Lestat, and The Queen of the Damned. If you guys are Anne Rice fans and you think this is the right place to start, then let me know in the comments, because this is floppy. This is pretty hefty. But I do want to try some Anne Rice, because again, I know that Mike from Mike's Book Reviews is a big fan, and it'll be part of digging deeper into horror, which is one of my goals for the year. Next up, I feel left out, because I either somehow don't remember reading this, or didn't read it. And so many people have said that it is one of those books that stayed with them emotionally, reading from childhood or adolescence, and it is Where the Red Fern Grows. Found this at Barnes & Noble, and I wanted to give it a shot. I know it's supposed to be a really touching and just kind of poignant book about potentially the loss of a pet. So at some point I will read this. I think I can probably read it pretty quickly. I just haven't really made any plans to read it. But if you're one of those people that Where the Red Fern Grows stuck with, and you still think about occasionally, it affected you emotionally, I want to hear about it in the comments. Next up, I read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and I had some Book of the Month picks to spend, and I got Upgrade by Blake Crouch. There's nothing on the back. I don't know why I'm showing you guys that. So Upgrade. I want to explore more of Blake Crouch. When I'm in the mood for a fast sci-fi thriller, I think I'm going to dip back into Blake Crouch because I had a lot of fun with Dark Matter. And I want to see if he kind of follows the same recipe or if he has some different flavors that he uses in his writing. So that is Upgrade. Next, I purchased a while back, before I had even read this author, who now has become one of my favorite contemporary horror authors, Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. Look at this. This is very short. It is 130 pages, a little novella. I had plans to read this around Halloween time, but just never got to it. So it's still sitting there waiting for me. I know tons of people loved this, and I am really excited for his third book in the Indian Lake trilogy to come out. And hopefully I can read this before then, just because I can't seem to get enough of Stephen Graham Jones right now. And I know he has more stuff other than this out, which I will plan on getting to. Next up, Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I found this at Goodwill, and this is a novel, but it's made up of 23 horrifying, hilarious, and stomach-churning stories. I have a couple friends that are really big fans of Chuck Palahniuk, and I've never tried him, and I would really love to. This cover is cool. It apparently glows in the dark. I have not put that to the test, so if you guys have this edition and you have put it to the test, I want to know if it actually does or not. Because if I was reading this and this was sitting on my nightstand and I woke up in the middle of the night to go use the restroom and this face was staring at me from my nightstand, I'd be a bit wigged out. So I hope it does glow in the dark. Next up, a buddy of mine knew somebody who was moving out of state. And they didn't want to lug a bunch of stuff with them, so there was a couple of boxes of books for sales. And my buddy, who knows that I love books, called me. I picked this up. For free. Cixin Liu's The Three-Body Problem. This is the first book in the series. Wildly imaginative, says President Barack Obama. Interesting. George R. R. Martin says, a breakthrough book, a unique blend of scientific and philosophical speculation, politics and history, conspiracy theory, and cosmology. George was probably upset that his tagline, fantasy as it ought to be written, could not be used for a sci-fi book, but I'm surprised he didn't say sci-fi as it ought to be written. Anyways, I'd like to start this at some point because I know a lot of people who really love it, and I know a lot of people who don't really love it but think it's okay, and I know a lot of people who just think it's wild and not for them. And I want to know where I fall because the ideas in here are apparently pretty wild, and I have not read a crazy big idea sci-fi series yet. I don't know if this is going to be my first one or not, but it will be one that I certainly give a try. Next, the classic, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, by, of course, Douglas Adams. I have not read all of this. I have read like 70 pages of it, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And it is my sense of humor. This edition that I got at Barnes & Noble is really cool. Look at the inside of the cover here. Just, I don't know what any of this stuff means yet, but it looks wild. The back is the same. But yeah, anyways, I just felt like I had to own this book and need to read it because this type of humor, if especially I'm in the mood for it, which is basically all the time, just hits with me. Doesn't miss. The British humor, the sarcasm, it is right up my alley. Next up, not up the same alley whatsoever, is Kindred by Octavia Butler. This is a book that I'm waiting to read until I am ready to give it the time that I feel it deserves. I know it's a very heavy book that deals with the serious topic of slavery, and it is sci-fi, time travel, I believe. I don't know too much about it. I know that it was one of Jimmy's on the Fantasy Network's reads of the year last year, and it really, really affected him emotionally, and I just love when books are able to do that. So I had a gift card for Barnes & Noble that I got for, I believe, Christmas, and I picked this one up, and I'm very, very excited to read this, probably in between school semesters, because I really just want to sit. I don't want to be reading anything else. I just want to read this when I feel like I'm ready to. So I don't know if that's going to be this year or next year or whenever it is, but I have it so I can read it whenever I would like. Next, this was not part of a book haul, but you guys have seen it on the channel before. In our Secret Santa that we did with the BookTube class of 2023, Carlos, the not better half of StoryTube, come on, buddy. There we go. Drew me in our Secret Santa, and he got me, off my wish list on Amazon, The Forgetting Moon by Brian Lee Durfee. The first book in the 5 Warrior Angels series. I don't know if it's a trilogy or a series. I think it's a trilogy. So this feels really big. Like, feels huge. But this is going to sound crazy. Not if you're a fantasy fan, but it's only 763 pages. That is pretty big. It just looks bigger than 763 pages. I don't know. So anyways, I don't have any immediate plans to read this, but I've heard very, very good things about this. People that were surprised how much they ended up liking the series and his writing specifically. So I am very excited at some point to read this, and that's why it was on my wish list. Next up, one of the other books that I picked as one of my choices with my gift card that I had for Barnes & Noble. The only book that I did not have in Steven Erikson's Stephen Lazen Book of the Fallen was Dust of Dreams. So I finally got it. And what the heck is that, Erikson? That's big. How am I supposed to not crack the spine when I'm reading this? Huh? He's like, I don't care. The spines will crack. Anyways, now my Malazan Book of the Fallen, the 10-book series, is complete, and I know I'm going to read it at some point. I'm actively reading it with a group of people, so I'm glad to finally have this fully complete series. Next up, a couple of Stephen King books that I've gotten recently. Holly. There we go. Holly. This is a book strictly, I guess, about Holly Gibney and what she's been doing. I do like Holly as a character. I don't love Holly as a character. I really did enjoy the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, and Holly was one of the better characters, probably the best by the end of that series. But yeah, I just haven't prioritized this. I have not read it yet. I know it was one of his newest releases, if not his newest, and I will get there. But I still have a couple Holly smaller content stories to read, like If It Bleeds. I want to read that first because I haven't read that. So once I read that, I think that might be it. Once I read If It Bleeds, then I will eventually get to Holly. And I don't remember where I found this. I think it was a Goodwill. No, it wasn't. It was a Half Price Books. I got this copy of the Bachman books. This is not focusing that well because of the color. Anyways, this is the Bachman book, which contains Rage, The Long Walk, Roadwork, and The Running Man. This is a first Plume omnibus printing, so it's a first edition, first printing, with an introduction, Why Was I Bachman by Stephen King, so that'll be interesting to read. But yeah, there's obviously Rage, which is Taken Out of Print by Stephen King in here. And I have The Long Walk just as itself. But I did not have Roadwork or The Running Man, and it's just cool to have this collection all in one. So there's that. And lastly, I have not really talked about this much on the channel, and don't think that I'm unique in this interest, but the last, I would say, 5 or 6 months, I've really taken an interest in learning more about creative writing, and just for fun trying my own hand whenever I have time to do it. And so I've been collecting some books on writing, or just general grammar, vocabulary, stuff like that, which I think translates to all facets of life. So I'll just show you guys what I've gotten. This is called The Infographic Guide to Grammar, which is really cool to brush up on some stuff that I always kind of question myself on, and to just see things plainly written. It's very colorful. But here, I'll give you guys an example page here. Sentence functions. So it's just this, obviously, infographic that kind of just shows you different facets of English grammar, which I just find fascinating. So I picked this up. I got Stephen King's book on writing, which I just chip away at whenever I have some time. I'm a little ways into it. Luckily, it's not something that, you need to read every single day to keep the story fresh in your mind. So whenever I don't feel like dipping into another story, or I don't feel like I have a lot of time to read, I'll read a few pages of this, which has been awesome so far. This is a book that I see listed on a lot of top lists for writers, books to read, stuff like that. And it is called Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. I have not started this, so if any of you out there have read this and know anything about it, let me know in the comments. I don't know much about it. It says some instructions on writing and life. So I'm excited to read some more about this. And the last book that I want to show you guys is a classic, The Elements of Style. Yep. By, of course, Strunk, White, and Kallman. Funny story about this, I bought it when I was on my way to go visit my parents, because they have a Barnes & Noble by their house, and I don't. So whenever I head out that way, I try to make a pit stop there, just because I love it there. And my mom was telling me that, she used to be a lawyer, she's not a lawyer anymore, but she was telling me that when she got hired at her first firm, this was the book that they gifted all of their new hires, because it is a book that just generally helps with so many different styles of writing, whether it be creative, persuasive, academic. So, to help them write their briefs or their arguments for court. I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm not a lawyer. Anyways, this book was gifted to all of them because it's just great general knowledge about how to become a more efficient communicator with writing, and how to just take out some parts of writing that we don't need, that many of us think we need. And the instructions in here are many of you probably know this, very clear, very to the point, like doesn't leave room for questions. So let me give you an example from part 1. Boop, 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 boop. One example is, in a series of 3 or more terms with a single conjunction, use a comma after each term except the last. Thus, write red comma, white comma, and blue. Gold comma, silver comma, and copper. Very, very easy to follow, and so I just flip through this every once in a while to refresh myself and to learn quite a bit about how to become a better writer for school and for pleasure and for whatever else it may be. So that's going to do it. I just wanted to show you guys some of the books I've been collecting recently. I don't do book hauls very often because I don't buy tons of books very often because I don't buy books just to do book hauls very often, and I'm trying to just buy the stuff that I really think I'm going to want. So I don't know. I just wanted to show you guys some books, so I did a book haul video. So that is going to do it for today. And I don't do book hauls. I can't even remember if I've done a book haul. I think I've done a bookshelf tour, but I've not done a book haul on my channel. But anyways, I just want to show you guys some of the books that I've been buying over the last 5 or 6 months or so that I'm really excited about, and talk to you guys about some of those books that I got. Maybe you've read them. Maybe you want to read them. Maybe we can read them together. So yeah, that's it. But before we go, we of course have to do this video's comedy with Colin. Today's joke is going to be, what do you call a beehive without an exit? If you think you know the answer, add it to your comment below. Guys, thank you if you're still here so much for being here. Thank you for watching. A brief update. I am working on a Memories of Ice review. I promise to all of you Malazan fans out there that have been waiting for Memories of Ice review, I am working on it. I'm kind of nervous to record it, and I'm not done with it yet, so I think that's kind of why it's taking so long. There's just so many things to wrap my head around in that book, and I worry about doing a good job conveying it, so I'm really taking my time with it, but it is coming, I promise, and I do want to do a review for The Spirit Cuts Through Water at some point as well. So coming up, you can expect possibly a TBR video for March. Not sure if I'm going to do that or not, but definitely a wrap up for February very soon. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my book journey coming up in the future. And don't forget to like and share this video. I hope you guys are all enjoying what you're currently reading. And remember, you're always welcome in Colin's Corner.